welcome to Elite Pilates Yoga. So today we are going to do a shoulder mobility, a bit of a chest stretch. So we're going to work basically the neck and the shoulders, a little bit of shoulder functionalities, and we're just going to be a little bit more aware of the posture. So my intention with this is alignment for today and shoulder mobility. So a lot of our poor postures are because of the top half of the body. So when we come into driving, we're in that kind of shape. Sitting at computers, that kind of shape. And once these muscles start to, and I want to say dysfunction, they don't function as they should, the body will start adapting in other ways. And this is what we need to overcome, and we need to retrain the body to do things correctly. And this can take time, and for some people, things can get worse before they get better. So unless sometimes we might have a client and they've just started, oh, my back's gotten worse. It's because the body is kicking back on years and years and years of doing something a certain way. If you think of kids, they've been doing something one way and then all of a sudden you tell them to do it another way, they're not going to do it, or they fight, or you tell the kids to do something, the dishes, they're going to kick back and they're going to fight. And the body works in a similar way. Right, so I love working shoulders and neck, particularly because it's an area that I struggle with a lot. I spend hours on the computer, and Pilates and yoga teachers don't just do Pilates and yoga all the time. We do other stuff as well. So I have a band, but you don't need a band. You can do this without a band. You can do it with weights in your hand. I quite like the band because it's actually going to do some of the work for you. So I'm putting my heels on the band. And that just helps the band to stay in the correct position. So if I put my toes on the band, number one, the band might shoot off, but also it tends to be the arms are a little bit too far forward. So we're standing nice and tall, my feet are hip width apart, and I'm pulling the shoulders back and down. So just by being in this position, I'm already starting to work some of the back muscles. Otherwise, if I didn't focus on standing up straight, this is what would want to happen. Let me turn quickly. That's what would want to happen because the band is pulling my shoulders down. So just by engaging the upper back and pulling the shoulders towards the spine and down, now I've got activity going on in the back. So this could just be an exercise on its own. Let me penguin myself to the front. Good. So we'll start with some shoulder rolls. So we're going to pull the shoulders forward. Take your shoulders up to the ears, to the wall behind you, and then slide them down your back. I actually like to call these squares, shoulder squares. Forward, up, back, and down. Then we turn to the side. Forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. So carry on while I natter away. What you might start to notice in your body is the head starting to bop forward. And I always say, don't have a turtle head. And apparently that's quite a naughty thing, or not a nice thing. So forward, up. So what might happen is people push their head forward and then they come back up. So they come up and they push their head forward. So you want to imagine that there's a rod all the way up your back, the neck and the head are stuck on this rod. So the only thing that you can move is this shoulder joint, okay? And the tighter you make your band, the more challenging it will be. The other thing that can go wrong is elbows start to get involved. So people, instead of using the shoulder joint, they start to use the arms. So when we use the arms, that becomes a bicep curl, which is not a bad thing, but for today we want to focus on shoulders. So just relax your elbows. Like the only thing you really want working around the arms are your fingers holding the band. So forward, up, back, and down. I'm going to penguin to the front again. We'll just do a couple more. And I tend not to do that way because I find that we're already in that shape. We don't need to exacerbate it. That's a big word for me. And then once your shoulders come back, hold them in that position, and we're going to do what we call nose, what I call nose. So I'm going to take my head over to my left shoulder. Now, if you've got space against a wall, like I have here, get your body against a wall and get your head against the wall as well. Pull the shoulder blades together and draw the tummy in. So now, when you take your head to the left, I'm trying to get my ear to touch the wall, but be mindful that the chin doesn't go up. Okay, so think of the chin trying to go back. Now, if you have any stiffness or pulling around the right side of your neck, you might find the right shoulder wants to pull forward. And that is just the body trying to make it comfortable for you. So focus on keeping those shoulder blades against the wall, and I'm turning my head and I'm turning my head. You might even get the hip pulling forward. So just keep your head there and just keep breathing. So pull the shoulders back and down. Each time you pull the shoulders back and down, can you take the head a little bit more towards the left? Relax in the shoulders. Bring your head back to the front and then take it to the other side. So you might be able to notice that this side is a lot stiffer for me. I can't even get my head against the wall there. And you may notice differences in your body as well. And lots of things can impact your body. The way you walk your dog, the way you carry your bags. If you've got children and you always pick up the kids on one side of the body, we tend to be more dominant, and these things can impact the body. So just check, is your left shoulder still against the wall as you try and take your right ear over the shoulder, and then come back to the front. Now have another shoulder roll. Good. Now I want you to choose your challenging side. So for me it was to look to the right, yours might be to look to the left. So my head's against the wall and I'm going to look to the right because that was more my challenging side. So again, I've got to be aware that that left hip doesn't want to pull round, the shoulders don't want to pull round. Trying to keep everything else in exactly the same place and just moving the head. My shoulder blades are still hugging the spine and traveling down the back. Last little breath. Good. And I've already noticed I've gained a little bit more mobility there. Good. Bring your head back to front, have a shoulder roll. So now we're going to do ear to shoulder. So again, have the head against the wall and I'm taking the head over towards my shoulder. Now this is where people tend to come into a banana. So everything from your sternum down to your pubic bone wants to stay in a line. So if I had a broomstick or something and I put it on the front of your body, the only thing that you would be trying to move is the neck and the head. So that's why mirrors are a great source of feedback. And I know that people are, I hate mirrors, I don't want to look in the mirror. But beyond vanity and my hair's not in a good position, it's like, what is the anatomy of my body doing? And I'm just gently pulling that shoulder down. But if I had to use the band, that's what the band's for. Good. So you might notice, are you de-weighting on one foot? Is the hip trying to pop out? Is your right shoulder pulling forward? And then bring the head up, have a shoulder roll. The body will do all sorts. You'll be surprised. The body will do all sorts if it's not comfortable or it wants to find an easier way. That's what the brain is designed to do. So now I'm taking right ear to right shoulder. And each time I breathe out, I'm just trying to go a little bit deeper. Again, just make sure you're not bananaing to your right side. Left shoulder's not pulling forward. And when it comes to stretching, we need to hold for at least 20 seconds. That allows all the fibers of the muscles to realign, and it just allows that muscle to get a little bit longer. So improves the flexibility. Good. And then bring the head up, have a shoulder roll. So again, you go to your more challenging side. So this one for me is my left side. And I'm going to take it to that side. So take the head over. Now focus on, are my shoulder blades touching the wall? My lower back and my bum's against the wall. I'm trying to get my lower back to the wall. So I'm just not arching in the back. My arms are relaxed and the band's doing the work for me. Each breath out, I'm just trying to take a little deeper, and I'm trying to keep that spine up nice and tall. So we'll just stay here for another 10 seconds. Again, each exhale, just try and go a little bit deeper. Good. And then gently bring the head up, have another shoulder roll. So this is my absolute favorite. It's not the one that actually feels the nicest, but I know it's the one that is doing my neck so much good. So you're going to keep hold of the band, and I'm just going to put the band down just so I can fondle my neck a little bit. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing muscles attach back of the skull there, and they come down the neck into the side of the shoulder blades. And these are what is known as the headache muscle, levator scapular muscles. And when we sit in that position, typing, driving, these get very, like I said, I'm going to use a very layman term, shrink. They don't technically shrink, they get shorter. So the fibers get shorter. Because the body's not using it, and the body's like, well, it's wasted energy, let's make it shorter, conserve energy. But actually it doesn't do the body any good, and then you land up with headaches, painful shoulders, and a lot of problems. So to stretch this muscle off, we don't want to look down because that becomes a spine exercise. What we have to do is, imagine your chin is a car, and we're going to reverse the car into the garage. So instead of dropping the head down, you're going to push the chin back like you're giving yourself a double chin, and then slightly drop the chin down. So you're actually trying to get the chin above the collarbones. So what that does is it's taking the neck. So instead of us being in that position, you can see there's not much space between the back of my skull and my shoulders. What we're doing now with the chin tuck is we are trying to create as much space in this area as we can. Like I said, and for some people it's not going to be very comfortable. And if it's not very comfortable, then guess what? This is the one for you. So you're still holding your bands. Now we're going to look 45 degrees to the left. Okay? So 45 degrees is, that would be your full 90 degrees, full on, it's in the middle. Okay? Now from there, you're going to reverse the car into the garage. So we're going to send the chin back. Now we're going to try and get the chin above the collarbones. So again, it's not dropping the body down, it's literally the skull that we're trying to tilt forward. Now in that position, you want to try and keep those shoulder blades pulling together and down the back. And then what you're trying to do is eventually get your nose towards the armpit. And hopefully, if you are quite tight and you suffer with stiff shoulders and neck, you might start to feel something in this region over there. And it's one of those sensations that is like, oh my God, that hurts, but oh my God, it feels so good. And if you don't really feel anything, then guess what? Then you probably haven't got a problem in that area, or you're not doing it right. Because generally, if you don't feel something. So let me jump in with you. So look to the left, reverse the car into the garage, chin tuck. Good. Now, when you're in that position, you're still trying to keep that neck tall. It is going to come forward. It's very hard to keep that neck and head against the wall when we're trying to do this particular one. But each time you're trying to take that chin a little bit closer, can you squeeze your shoulder blades closer together at the back and really drop them down? So I'm feeling this a little bit down the arm and down the back around the shoulder blades. So we'll have a couple of more breaths here. Again, sometimes people will come into this little collapsed position. Tall body, tall body, tall body. Bring your head up 45 degrees, come back to the front, have a shoulder roll, restack the shoulders. Now 45 degrees to the right, reverse your car into the garage, and then take the chin. Ooh, and I happen to know this side is very, very stiff. And then, so I'm trying to give, Paul says, give your armpits a sniff. Ugh. But again, try not to just drop the head down because you're going to lose a lot of that stretch. It's really important that the shoulders are going down. We're not rolling the spine forward. And each exhale, can I drop those shoulder blades closer together down the back as I encourage the chin closer and closer to the armpit without dropping the head down. And when I mean dropping the head and the neck, so we're not coming into a forward bend. Last few seconds. And then bring the head up, come back to center. Have a shoulder roll, and then guess what? You're going to pick your more challenging side. So for me, I'm going back to my right side. Reverse your car into the garage, chin down above the collarbones. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Let the band pull your hands down and down and down and down towards the feet. As you try and create as much space between your left ear and left shoulder, you're trying to take that chin to touch your collarbone, almost sniffing underneath your armpits. We're going to stay here for another 10 seconds. Each exhale, the spine is tall. 5 more seconds. Good. And then bring the head up, come back to the front. Oh, have a shoulder roll and release. So that one that we've just done, if I had to say pick one shoulder exercise out of all of them that you want to try and incorporate into your everyday life, it would be that one, because that is a terrible muscle. So I'll tell you a little story quick. Paul has, so Paul does remedial massage, injury rehabilitation and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure you've heard the term when people go, oh, I've got a knot in my back. And this is not a knot. It's the levator scapular muscle has 3 muscles, so to speak, 3 heads, 3 legs. And what it does is it twists in the body so that it can help the shoulder blade to move. This is a very simple explanation. So what happens is when this becomes tighter and tighter and tighter and shorter, where the muscles turn gets that big lump in it. And that's what causes the knot. So when people go, oh, I've got a knot, Paul rolls his eyes. So let's go into, so it's always a good idea to stretch off all these muscles. If you're going to do any shoulder work, it's always a good idea to stretch off first. Otherwise, the next day, you might get a lot of stiffness around the neck. I have done that. I've jumped on the reformer work before and done loads of stuff, and then the next day I'm like, I can't walk because I didn't stretch off properly first. So we're going to do up and overs, very technical term. Now, again, you can use a very long towel, you can use a belt. Start with something that's quite wide because you don't know what your shoulders are like, and so some days you might be more stiff and less mobile than other days. And again, if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be less mobile than you would be later on in the day. So start wide, and I'll turn to the front of this one. So hands are going to come up and then down the back. Hands come up and down the back. Now, this is another one where people duck. And I do appreciate that if your arms are quite wide, you might need to. But try not to do that kind of thing. We want to always focus on stability, so the spine is stable. Now, if you watch my shoulder joints, what we're focusing on, so my hands, you're not going to see my hands, but that doesn't matter. How our body works is, like I said, sometimes the body will change how it's meant to work to make stuff easier. So a lot of people, when they're lifting their arms, they'll go lift the shoulder, lift the arm. And that's incorrect muscle recruitment, and these muscles become very dominant and cause a lot of issues. Again, a lot of shoulder tension, sore necks, and weak other areas in the body. How the body's meant to work is we lift the arm, the shoulder is down to a certain point where then it lifts, okay? A lot about Pilates is teaching the body to recruit muscles in the right order, and this is one of these exercises. So as you take your hands up, focus on pulling your scapulars down your back. So shoulder blades down, shoulder blades down, shoulder blades down, shoulder blades down. So even though I'm here, the shoulders are still not up around there. There's no need for them to be up there. So just relax your shoulders. I'm going to pull the band open and then take it down the back. And same thing when you come up. As you come up, shoulder blades down, shoulder blades down, shoulder blades down. And then bring the arms down, okay? So ideally, there's no movement in the spine. I'll exaggerate. So again, we're trying to avoid anything like that. So hands come up and down. And I do that. Have you ever driven under a tunnel and you're dark? Or you go around a really sharp bend in the car and go, ooh. Good. Now when you bring your hands back, if it's available to you, try and make the band a little bit tighter. So now what we're focusing on is turning the arm bone in all shaped directions within the shoulder joints, but also stretching off the front of the chest, which has a big impact on posture as well. So if we are really stiff and tight in the front of the chest, and again these muscles have shortened or shrunk, then we'll end up with that kind of posture. So we need to have really big open hearts. Now be aware if your elbows are bending. So bent elbows, two reasons that might happen is a lack of awareness, or it indicates issues with the shoulders. So if you're in that position, then have your arms wider and just work to the point where there's no pain. Okay? We still want it, the minute you bend your elbows, you take a lot of the exercise, the benefits of that exercise away. So I'm just going to do one last one. Lovely. And then bring your hands down. So moving on to what looks like a very basic exercise is floating arms. So we're going to do one arm at a time, and then we'll do both. So like I just said with that, what most people will do is shoulders, arms. Okay, they don't even think about it. And that's not their fault. That is just how the body has adapted to trying to make things easier. These muscles are big and strong, so it's easy for them to do it. And the body's job is the brain's job is to keep you safe and conserve energy. It's basically to keep you alive and comfortable. So why use other stuff when this one just does it like a piece of cake? But at the end of the day, it causes a lot of imbalance in shoulders, mobility, how the shoulder's supposed to work. So floating arms is a really good way to try and retrain the brain. So let's take the left hand and pop it on the right shoulder. Okay, over there. I'm going to take my right hand, palm facing up, arms straight, just a little soft bend, and I'm going to start to send the hand up and stop halfway. Now notice, has your shoulder already started lifting? So what is your left hand telling you? Can you drop the shoulder down? Now take the hand a little bit higher. Has the shoulder lifted? Can you drop it down? Now you'll notice that my hand is slightly to the front, and I've also noticed my hips swinging forward. I get a little bit, my weight goes to the front of my feet. So the hands want to be slightly in front. Okay? The reason for that is when the arms, I think it's about 18 degrees in front of the body, is where we are most anatomically correct. It's where the bones sit perfectly in the shoulder and they have perfect movement without undue stress or strain in the body. Life is not so simple. So a little bit to the front, keep the shoulder down. So you want to start activating all these muscles here and pull the shoulder down, pull the shoulder down. The hands will go just above head height, and then you're going to turn the palm facing down and then push down, but keep the shoulders down. So Paul says, imagine you're pushing your hands through treacle. Now, you've all been in water at some stage, a swimming pool, the sea, and you're trying to walk through water. It's the same kind of thing. When you start to push the hand down, create that resistance in your own body. Okay, so let's face the front. Hand on the shoulder. Standing nice and tall. Arm floats up. Now think shoulder down, shoulder down, shoulder down. Feel what your left hand is doing. Is your left hand lifting? Is the hand coming up towards the ear? There should be plenty of space. I mean, I have got a long neck anyway. Taking the hand up, shoulder blade down. Turn the palm and then send the hand down with resistance. I'm pushing down, but this shoulder is still staying down, trying to reach up through the crown of my head. So you know those corkscrew bottles where you push down and the cork comes up? You want to think of that action as the hand comes down the neck lift. So I am feeling muscles around there engaging. I'm feeling the muscles around the back engaging. So let's do the other side. Right hand onto the shoulder. Hand slightly out to the side and front. Palm facing up. So I can feel there's a lot more resistance. That shoulder wants to hike up a lot more on that side. Turn the palm down and float down. So I also know that when I walk the dogs, they're on the left. So what this is telling me is that this is very dominant on this side. My upper trapezius muscles here, I can feel them. They're already starting to kick in. And now I really need to focus on pulling the shoulder blade down. Turn the palm, and now think of the cork coming out of the bottle as you create resistance, bringing the hand down. I can even feel my right shoulder going up. So drop in that arm, shoulder down, shoulder down, shoulder down, shoulder down. Turn the palm. Good. So once that hand comes down, let's do both at the same time. So now you're going to have to feel a bit more because you haven't got that feedback from the hands. So palms come up, shoulders down. So do it in front of a mirror. This is where mirrors are so awesome. Pull the shoulders down. So you can see the space between my shoulders. So we're trying not to be in that position. Turn the palms. Now, send the head up, crown of the head up as the shoulders come down, shoulders come down, shoulders come down. I can feel so much muscle going on. Back of the arm. And we'll just do one more. You can do these while you're boiling the kettle. We need to retrain, and muscles have memory, so we've got to do this a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot to get through, to break that old habit. Marvelous. So shall we come on to our backs? Oh, and it's a good start, standing too much. So we're going to come into something called backstroke arms, and this is going to teach you a little bit about rib cage closure and shoulder mobility. So I'm going to have just a little cushion under my head. Some people, depending on the shape of your neck, might need a cushion or stuff. If you have naturally got quite a round upper back, you might want to put more cushions under your head. Oops. So. Right. So backstroke arms is a shoulder mobility exercise. So just so that you can start to feel more from this, I want you to come into an imprint in your lower back. So at the moment, I'm in a neutral pelvis. These two hip bones and my pubic bones are lying parallel to the floor. So the weight is in the back of the bony part of the pelvis, in the sacrum. So breathe in. And then as you exhale, just send your lower back into the floor. Now, normally I say switch off the hamstrings and the bums and make sure the abdominals are working. For this one in particular, I'm not too worried whether the legs are helping you. But what we're going to focus on is the rib cage, so that you can see my ribs over there. My feet are relatively soft. and I'm going to take my hands up towards the ceiling. We're just going to have a little play with hand positioning. So let's start with the palms facing the knees. My right hand I'm going to send towards the wall behind me and the left hand down towards my hips. Now I'm trying to pull the shoulder blade towards my heels. So remember, when we're standing, we're trying to keep the shoulder away from the ears. So again, if you need to feel with your left hand what the shoulder's doing, check. And then we're going to bring that hand up and switch sides. Now, you might notice that my left hand isn't going anywhere near the floor. In fact, it's quite painful just in this position. So my rib cage is pulling down, my lower back is in the floor. The shoulder blade of the left arm, I'm trying to pull down the back. Now, if I try and touch the floor, the only way I'm going to get that, and I'm going to exaggerate this so you can see that, the only way my hand's going to touch the floor is if I do that. Okay? Now, some days I might be working spine mobility and I might say, yeah, that's fine, let the spine move, because I want to work on letting the spine move and the muscles move. But today, because I'm focusing on the shoulders, what I want you to do is really keep the rib cage down, bring that lower back to the floor again, and just find that point where you can take the hand. And then bring the hand up and we switch sides. So let's just do a few more. Now, if you want to make this a little bit harder, you can always bring your legs up into tabletop. That's going to make those abdominals work a bit harder. Now, if you are going to have the legs in this position, again, we don't want that back lifting. You might want to bring the knees in a little bit closer to the chest. But again, for the purpose of what I'm focusing on today, you can quite easily just keep your feet on the floor, but just have the toes touching. So it's not so much about an abdominal exercise. So again, just find the point. And the reason you're going to get stuck halfway is the shape of the bones, especially when the palms are facing down. Okay? Shoulder blades. Whole time. When the hands go to there, stop there and pull that shoulder blade down. Good. Now bring the hands up and have the palms turning inwards. So right hand's going to go towards the ceiling, the shoulder blade down the back, left hand towards the hip. And just see if you notice any difference. Lower back is touching the floor, shoulder blades down the back, rib cage is pulling in, feet are nice and soft. So you might notice that this feels a little bit easier. And what has happened now is the arm bone has turned into a more suitable position for the arm to go higher up. So this is more anatomically correct, having the palms facing inward. So I'm still pulling the shoulder blade down. Don't need to have the shoulders up around the ears. Good. And I can feel this in the shoulders, bringing the hands up and relax. So especially my right shoulder is a little bit more problematic than the left one. I think the bones are a bit weird in that one. Lovely. So I'm going to come on to the side now. And these are the last two exercises, which maybe I'll add another one in. My clients love these ones. So you're going to want to have a block under the head. There are some teachers that don't teach with the block, and that's nothing wrong with that. My neck gives me lots of problems, so I'm always aware of that, and I like people to be comfortable. So the first one we're going to do is arm openings, and this isn't really one Paul likes to teach lying down. He does a standing variation, which is good. But your knees want to be flush with each other. So if I were to put a ruler down there, the knees would be straight. The feet are tucked under the bum, and your top hip bone is above the bottom hip bone. So if you look at your knees and you've got one knee hanging over, that means your pelvis is rolling forward. If you've got one knee stacked behind, then your pelvis is rolling back. So just find the point where they stack on top of each other. And I appreciate there are people in the world who's got one femur longer than the other. So you do need to take that in mind. But generally, for most people, it's going to be in that position. So the arms are out in front of you and your head's on the block. Now, with this one, make sure your head is at the front of the cushion and your arms are out like a crocodile. The spine is straight and the back of your head is up. For some reason, when people lie on their side, they want to go into a fetal position. So just think of length. And my top hip, I'm always trying to send that way to create space under there. So trying to straighten the spine a little bit. Now, you might want to watch this one first. We're going to take the hand up towards the ceiling and we're going to hold it there. Now, physically lift your head and turn it to look at the hand. Okay. Now you can see my shoulders quite close to my chin, so what I'm going to try and do is pull that shoulder blade away from the chin, and now I'm going to turn my spine. So the shoulder joint is going to stay. I'm not going to do anything with the shoulder joint. I'm going to start to turn my rib cage back. Obviously the rib cage is connected to the arms, and I'll probably go back to about there, because I don't want my hips and my knees moving. If I let my hips and my knees move, I'm going to land up like that. And then if I'm not doing it right in the shoulder, I'm going to land up like that. Okay? We don't want this bone popping out of the shoulder joint. It should be nice and flat over there. Now, if you've gone more than 45 degrees, probably something isn't right. So if you're quite low there, maybe something's not right. Some people have got excessive mobility in that part of the spine. You can put a little ball or something between your knees to squeeze to stop the hips from going back. Good. And the arm's nice and soft. And I'm gazing towards the hand. So imagine someone wants to give you a bunch of flowers and then bring your hand back over. So this is actually the spine rotating. So hand comes up, physically look at the hand, shoulder blade down the back. Now we're going to start to turn the rib cage back. So it's almost like, sometimes you have to use body parts. I'm trying to get my nipple to go round to the back. So it's not so much about the arm going back. Engaging those knees a little bit to stop hips moving, and then coming back over again. I'm going to do one more. Hands come up. Look at that top hand. Shoulder blade goes down. Turn the spine. Keep looking at the hand. So yes, we're going to get a little bit of stretch in that part of the body, but also just giving the spine a bit of a stretch. Good. Now, when you come back, the next one we're going to do is chalk circles, and you're definitely going to want to watch this one. With chalk circles, just let your legs be nice and floppy, just switch them off, pretend they're not even there, and just completely relax them. So with a chalk circle, we've got to let the bottom half of the body be relaxed. This is such a beautiful exercise for people with shoulder mobility problems, anybody that's had surgery, frozen shoulder, cancer operations. You've got to be gentle, but if this is one that you practice and practice and practice and practice, you will get fantastic results. So imagine I've got a piece of chalk in my top hand. I'm going to put the chalk on the floor. And I'm going to draw a line towards my head. So I'm going to show you the full one first, and then I'll show you some variations. Once the chalk gets to my head, I'm just going to let the weight of my body spiral me back. Now watch my top leg. Okay? From here, I'm going to bring the arm round. Now both my shoulder blades are on the floor at this point. So top half is on the floor, and I'm going to bring my hand round and back up. So I'm going to do one full one. Hand all the way there. Let the weight of the body, now both my shoulder blades are on the floor before I bring the arm around. Take it over and back. Variations. Hand comes up. The intention is to try and have a straight elbow. Now it might be that you need to lift the arm. Come onto the back, bring the arm round. So depending if you've had your surgery or a break or something, your chalk circles might be this. But if you practice and you practice and you practice and you practice, the circles will get bigger. The results that I've seen with people are fantastic. But what you've got to be mindful of is there's no pain. We will work within discomfort, like, oh yeah, that's pulling, oh, that's pain, lift the hand, okay? And I could do this all day. Lovely. Let's come up over to the other side. That is such a lovely exercise. Sometimes I'll finish a class in that and then just let people relax into that position. So we'll do arm openings and then chalk circles. So remember, arm open, legs have to stay glued together, top knee above the bottom, top hip above the bottom hip, and the spine is straight. Feet are under the bum. Crocodile jaws, hands come up to the ceiling. Now physically turn your head, pull that shoulder blade down. Now from here, turn your spine, send your nipple up to the ceiling, click, and to the wall behind you. Now this side, I feel a lot looser, so I might be able to go a little bit further. But again, I'm only 45, I'm not any more than that one. If I'm going anywhere down there, either it's coming from the shoulder joint, which you don't want, so you don't want to be in that position, or it's because the body's moved. Okay? So my shoulder blade's down the back, I'm engaging those knees a little bit so that my hips don't move, and I'm looking at that top hand, and then bring it back. So you will find that one side is easier than the other. Hands come up, so maybe after this video you go back and you do the ones that feel more stiff and you stay there and you do a little bit more on that side. Top hip, sometimes I think of the top hip, just gently pushing that top hip forward to help the spine twist, and then bring it back over. So we'll do one more. Hands come up, look at the hand, shoulder blade down the back, lock that shoulder into position and then turn the spine back. Engaging the knees, just gently push that top hip forward a little bit and then come back again. Fabulous. Now, switch your legs off. Sometimes I like to just give them a shake just to get rid of that memory that we've just put into there. Top hand, imagine your favorite color chalk and we're going to draw a circle. So hand goes on the floor, hand goes over the head, and then let the weight of your body spiral you back so that both shoulder blades are on the floor. The hand comes all the way around. Oh no, I've got a wall there. Back over the hips. And then your challenge is each time you draw that circle, can you draw a bigger circle? How much rotation, how much can you turn your arm bone inside of the shoulder socket without pain? So again, you might need to have that hand up there. The biggest mistake people do with these is they don't let the upper body roll back. They're trying to keep their hand on the floor and still looking forward with their chest, okay? So before you start to even turn the arm, the shoulder blades need to be back. Your upper body needs to be more up towards the ceiling. And then bring it round. Good. Let's do two more, just because you can. Good. And then bring your hands over and gently push yourself up. So, chalk circles you can do in your bed. Sometimes I'm like, oh, go and make me a cup of tea. But really lovely mobility exercises, those for your shoulders. And the more we can get mobile in this part, the more strengthening the upper back is going to help with posture. The more we can stretch off the neck muscles, the more the head will go back into alignment with the spine rather than forward in that position. So, like I said, the top half of the body is actually quite important for posture. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!